Call Laura now. 1-800-876-4123.
The struggling economy, which was a hot-button topic at the Republican presidential debate. The thought was that you made a bad situation worse. How do you respond to that?
Well, there will be time for campaigning. I'll let those guys sort out what they want to say. What I know is that an economy that was shrinking is now growing, but we've got to grow it faster.
Growing at its current rate, it would take 22 years to pull ourselves out of this mess that these ridiculous policies have gotten us into. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show. Barack Obama doing a full court press, trying to rekindle some of the personal narrative razzle-dazzle to blunt what are disastrous poll numbers for him. New poll out showing that pretty much any Republican candidate would be able to beat him, a generic Republican candidate, beat him head-to-head. Now, this is just a snapshot, but still quite interesting. Meanwhile, Greece is on the verge of a financial collapse, which will send huge shockwaves through international markets. And for the life of me, I can't figure out what our plan is to try to stave off the effects of that. Joining us now, I'm delighted he's with us. Governor of, former governor, but you still call him governor, Governor Tim Pawlenty, former Republican governor of Minnesota, author of the book, Courage to Stand an American Story. And of course, we saw him at the debate the other night, and we're delighted he's with us. Governor, how are you?
I'm doing just great, Laura. Good morning to you.
So now we know that, look, the recovery is happening, and you all can do your politics, but the president's just going to be busy focusing on getting business done at home.
Yeah, that's really working for him and the nation, isn't it? He ran last summer. This wasn't this summer, but a year ago it was going to be the recovery summer. And how was your recovery summer going? Are you using the extra SPF to ward that off, or to make sure you're in line with that, Laura?
Yeah, I think we need to recover from the recovery summer. That's the problem. We never had a recovery in the first place. It wasn't meaningful. It was another PR campaign waged by the war room at the White House, and we were supposed to be lulled into this passive approach to combating what they were doing, and lo and behold, nothing happened. And we are where we are. Now, I want to play for you a soundbite, Governor. This was Mike Huckabee on my show a few days ago after the debate in New Hampshire, and you're specifically talking about your performance. Let's listen.
The number one thing, and I'm going to go back to my friend Tim Pawlenty, he needs to get rid of some of his consultants. I saw this with Romney 4 years ago, and I'm seeing it with Pawlenty now. Overcoached, overconsulted. Get rid of them.
What's your response to that? He thought you were a little. He thought you were a little muted and a little too rehearsed and not spontaneous enough, and probably didn't hit hard enough.
Well, the main focus of the debate for me was a question about what about Romneycare and Obamacare and their overlap, and I tried to keep the focus initially on Obamacare, but obviously the question was directly related about the comparison between the two and my earlier comments on it. And since then, I said, look, I should have been more direct and more clear that you can't have a nominee who is going to prosecute one of the main political charges against the president, namely Obamacare, and have that person be a co-conspirator in developing and constructing the program. And so that's what I should have added to the debate. I think the points that I made were good, but that answer regarding Obamacare and what happened in Massachusetts was incomplete, and I should have added that. But the rest of the debate, I thought the rest of the answers, at least from my standpoint, I thought were good and solid, but the intention on my part of it, my participation, focused on that one answer afterwards.
Yeah. Well, you weren't intimidated by having Romney standing there, were you?
No, I thought, I made at the time, I think it was just an incomplete answer, and I should have been more direct. At the time, I made the decision to focus on Obama rather than hitting other Republicans. But when the question gets directly asked in a contrast like that, I should have been more complete and more direct and said what I just said to you a minute ago in addition.
Now, we've talked to a number of people over the last several days about approach in this campaign. And look, it's complicated. It's ever-changing. Running a campaign, as you know with your experience, is very difficult. And it's so easy to sit back where I am and say you should have done this, should have done that, and the other thing. But the bottom line is you're reacting in real time as things are going down. And with that said, are you in the process of perhaps tweaking your approach to issues? Not your substance, which I think your substance is well-formed and it's well-articulated, but your approach, whether to the camera or to crowds, to maybe blunt some of the criticism that you're maybe maybe a little too nice and a little too meek for what is going to be a rough and tumble campaign.
Well, I think everybody just has to be themselves, because if you try to be something you're not, it comes across as inauthentic, and it is inauthentic. And the notion that I'm, meek or weak is just not accurate. I mean, you look at people's records, not their words. And if people want razzle-dazzle and, the loudest or most crazy commenting person in the race, that's not me. They should vote for somebody else. But if you want somebody who actually has led, who's delivered, and doesn't just talk about these things, done it on taxes, on spending, on schools, on pensions, on welfare reform, healthcare reform, and measure strength by your willingness to stand up and change the systems and take on opponents. The first government shutdown in 150 years, set a record for vetoes, the most executive on allotments and spending in the history of my state, more than all the other governors combined. So if people want, razzle-dazzle and more, Obama-esque rhetoric, then that's not me. But if you want somebody who's actually led and is somebody who can deliver and has results and can go out and appeal in places that are purple and blue and bring them to our side and win the election, then that is me. And so it's just a question of what style people want, and that's what I bring to the table.
Governor, what's your tactic going to be in Iowa, where obviously you and Michelle Bachmann and some others are quite popular and have an enormous amount of appeal? Your roots in the Midwest, obviously hers as well. If it's you and Michelle Bachmann fighting it out for those solid Tea Party votes, how do you distinguish yourself from her?
Well, I think Mitt is the front runner, Laura. And if you're going to be a serious candidate for president, you got to compete everywhere, including in these early states, and that's what we intend to do. But I think the race will ultimately come down to Mitt versus one other person who's going to, the remaining candidates are going to winnow down to one main alternative to Mitt, and depending on who that candidate is, that will determine the outcome. I will have a lot to say about that. We're going to compete in Iowa. We have to do well there, but Michelle's from Iowa. It has a constituency that is broad-based, but I think we can do well there. And coming out of Iowa, if you come in a reasonable finish there, that gives you some momentum going into the other two states. But we have to do well in Iowa. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I hear you on that. And look, Romney is up in most of the polls, and yet I think you know as well as I do, if you don't win Iowa, that hobbles you early on. And if Michelle Bachmann is able to win that, I mean, that's something that you guys are going to have to deal with. And I get my little whispers here.
Yeah, that may be, but on the other side of it, I think people don't, if they look at Iowa and Mitt's not competing, John Huntsman is not competing, there's going to be some who say, well, what's the result mean? But I think we can do well. I think we can and will win Iowa or do very well there. So we're not locked up on whether, it's a must-win in Iowa. But the other thing I think people need to think about is what does the consequences of Iowa mean down ballot in the rest of these states? And I think you got to have somebody coming out of at least the first two states that's a credible national competitor for Mitt.
Yeah, well, it seems, there are all these personality clashes that we're led to believe occur and are in existence in the Republican Party. I think a lot of this is fed by people who really don't have the best interests of conservatism at heart, and they're trying to drive wedges. But one of them, obviously, is that you and Bachmann aren't really that friendly, and there's no love lost between the two of you. Is there any truth to that?
Well, no, I don't think there is. I've campaigned for her. I've always said positive things about her. I respect her, and so I'm not.
How does that get started? How does that get started? I don't get this, because you have campaigned for her, and I actually saw you campaign for her.
Yeah, no, I always say positive things about her, and so we've had. We don't hang out together. We're not like social buddies, but we are colleagues and friends in Minnesota and in the political circles, and we've always had a respectful, constructive relationship. So I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Let's talk about this, the big event now. I know you're focusing on the campaign in New Hampshire and South Carolina, early states, Florida. But the big event tomorrow is Boehner golfing with Obama. Okay? So let's say Tim Pawlenty manages to fight the Washington U.S. Open traffic, and he ends up golfing with Obama. What question would you ask him?
Well, I think I would ask him, just setting aside the political rhetoric, we got $4 a gallon gas, we got crushing levels of unemployment, we got a federal government that's out of control. You've tried your way, and it's not working. And we got people hurting all over this country, unemployed, underemployed, can't take care of their families. And what you've tried for 3 years isn't working. And we need to take a different approach. And I would put the pressure on him and make the case that you've got to change course and come a different way. And I put this economic plan on the table a couple of weeks ago at President Obama's former place of employment, the University of Chicago, the home of Milton Friedman, which was a huge pro-growth, pro-investment, pro-jobs economic plan. Laura, slashed business taxes, individual taxes, cranked down on spending, did health care reform, regulatory reform, and called for that energy reform. These are the kinds of things that you have to do to get the private economy going, and Barack Obama doesn't understand it. He doesn't respect it. He doesn't want to do it, and we need leaders who are going to either take him out, get him out of office, or be able to defeat him and bring that agenda forward. Every business person, every job provider across the whole country is saying the same thing to me every day, everywhere.
No, it's brutal.
Get the government off my back. It's too expensive.
It's beyond
too
brutal.
slow. Yeah, they're saying it's too expensive, too slow, too discouraging, and you got to do things to lighten the load in terms of taxes, regulations, permitting, energy, health care, not make it heavier. And Obama did the exact opposite.
Yeah, and the Chief of Staff, Bill Daley, just met with hundreds of manufacturing executives in Washington, D.C., and he himself said some of the stuff that's out there, the regulations, are indefensible. This is the Chief of Staff to Obama, so that's kind of where that's coming from. And Governor, finally, like I know you have to go, but this Rasmussen poll, I know it's a snapshot, but you don't come in. Are you cleaning the dishes right now? By the way, are you actually doing the dishes in the background? I hear those dishes.
No, I'm in a cafe area that does go in the background.
Oh, okay. So your Father's Day, this is how your family treats you on Father's Day. Do the dishes, will you, Tim? Come on, let's go.
Right.
Come on, get it cleaned up now.
I do that. It could be.
Okay, good. Your wife knows what time it is. All right, so you come in fifth behind Romney, Bachmann, Kaine, and Gingrich. How do you explain fifth with the fact that you're one of the more successful governors of one of the more important states in the United States?
Well, if it's a national poll, I don't know if that's the early state poll or a national poll, but
Rasmussen.
Yeah, if it's national, about 40% of the people in the country don't know who I am. So you got to consider half the people who are getting asked the question have never heard of me. So that's one variable in there. And two is a number of the other people in the race. The race will winnow. So it's we're not saying we're going to be in the first position early on, but I think you'll see good progress as the league gets better. It goes up.
Yeah.
So we're getting contested against people who are better known than I am.
In Florida yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, but Governor Romney was talking to a number of people and another campaign stop there, and he was joking around. Some of the folks happened to be unemployed, and he should say, I should tell my own story, he said. I'm also unemployed, and he kind of laughed about it, and he got some laughter in the crowd. Some people are saying that was out of touch and inappropriate. What's your take?
Well, I think he was trying to make a joke, and we all made failed efforts at humor, and so if it was his intent to try to make a joke or make a crack at humor, it just went badly for him. I can understand that. I've done that, so I think we should just cut him some slack on that one.
God, you can't even take a shot at this? Come on. No, I'm just teasing. I completely agree with you. It's ridiculous that people are making a big deal of it.
It would be one thing if he was serious about it, but he's clearly trying to make a joke, and it just went flat and went the other way. It was one thing if he said it from a windsurfer on Lake Winnipesaukee and then made that comment. Now that would be funny. Governor, when the president joked about, I guess some of the jobs weren't so shovel-ready, how about that joke? Was that appropriate? Well, everybody told him at the time. That's I know he made a joke about it, but much of that wasn't shovel-ready. And when you you're president of the United States and the whole economy, much of it hinges on whether you're going to be a pro economic activity person or not, and then you make your policy hinge on that kind of premise, and it's wrong. You should apologize, not make a joke about it.
Well, don't worry. We're not going to play that stupid this or that game with you, by the way. That was
really illuminating, wasn't it?
Oh, no. First, here's my one piece of advice for you. The next time you're in a debate and someone does one of those dumb attempts to humanize all of you, you know what you just say at this point? John, I appreciate the fascinating nature of this question, but I have so much on my plate focusing on the U.S. economy. I think we can't waste a minute having a frivolous conversation. The whole place will stand up and applaud you. That's my last piece of advice for the moment.
Good advice.
All right, Governor Pawlenty, great to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a wonderful Father's Day.
Thanks, Laura. You too.